This is Connor McDavid, and before he ever played a full NHL season, many already believed he was destined to become the face of hockey. He was the most anticipated prospect since Sidney Crosby, a player scouts called generational before he even was old enough to drive. Every shift came with impossible expectations, and through the first few weeks of his rookie season, he looked like he was living up to every single one of them. But just 13 games into his NHL career, one split-second play changed everything. An awkward collision with the boards left McDavid crumpled on the ice, holding his shoulder as the entire league held its breath. No one knew what this could mean for Connor's young career. But what happened next didn't only define Connor McDavid's rookie season, it became the first true test of a career that would eventually change the NHL forever. Before Connor ever played a single NHL game, the spotlight was already on him. Every step of his hockey journey had been followed for years, and by the time he was draft eligible, there wasn't much left to debate. He had dominated every single level he touched, shattered expectations in junior hockey, and turned himself into the unanimous first overall pick of the 2015 draft. For most top prospects, reaching the NHL is the dream. For McDavid, it was simply the next chapter everyone and himself had been waiting for. At just 15 years old, McDavid was granted exceptional status, allowing him to enter the OHL a full year early. Only two players had ever received that exemption before him, John Tavares and Aaron Ekblad. The Erie Otters selected him first overall, and from the moment he stepped onto the ice, it was obvious he belonged. As a rookie, McDavid put up 66 points in 63 games, broke Erie's rookie scoring record, and was named the OHL Rookie of the Year, but that was only the beginning. The following season, he exploded for 99 points in just 56 games, helping transform the Otters from one of the league's worst teams into legitimate championship contenders. Then in his draft year, he somehow reached another level. Despite missing 6 weeks with a broken hand, McDavid scored 44 goals and 120 points in only 47 games. He averaged over 2.5 points per game, almost a goal per game. He won OHL Most Outstanding Player, CHL Player of the Year, Playoff MVP, and finished his junior career as the most decorated player in OHL history, and that still stands today. And there wasn't much left for him to prove in junior hockey. The only question remaining was where he would begin his NHL career. And that answer came on April 18th, 2015, and the Edmonton Oilers won the NHL Draft Lottery, or as everyone else was calling it, the McDavid Sweepstakes. For a franchise that had spent years collecting first overall picks like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Taylor Hall, and Nail Yakupov without escaping the NHL's basement, McDavid felt different. The expectations were enormous, and just a few games into his rookie season, it looked like the Oilers got their guy. When McDavid finally arrived in the NHL, he absolutely wasted no time at proving the hype was real. He made his debut on October 8th, 2015 against the St. Louis Blues, and while he didn't record a single point, it didn't take long for the flashes to appear. Just 4 games later, McDavid scored his first NHL goal against the Dallas Stars, beating Kari Lehtinen with a deflection before celebrating with raising both his hands and one foot up that immediately drew comparisons to Wayne Gretzky's celebration on his first NHL goal. Yes, comparing an 18-year-old to the greatest player the sport has ever seen is probably a little unhealthy for the kid, but with McDavid, people just couldn't help themselves. Even though he was playing on an Edmonton Oilers team that was still near the bottom of the standings, McDavid looked like the best player on the ice almost every single night. Through his first 12 games, he had already recorded 12 points, showing exactly why scouts had spent years calling him a generational talent. It felt a little bit less like he was adjusting to the NHL and more like the NHL was adjusting to him. The Oilers still weren't a good team though, but for the first time in years, they were must-watch television. McDavid was only 18, Leon Draisaitl was 20, Taylor Hall was 24, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was 22, Jordan Eberle was 25, and believe it or not, Nail Yakupov had actually gotten off to a solid start. The wins weren't there yet, but the young talent certainly was. The hockey world couldn't wait to see what Connor McDavid and this young Oilers core would do next. And on November 3rd, 2015, Edmonton welcomed in Philadelphia, looking to continue the incredible start of its rookie phenom. The game started exactly how everyone expected. McDavid entered the night with 11 points in his previous 8 games, and from his very first shift, he was buzzing. Early in the first period, he curled behind the Flyers' net and slipped a beautiful backhand pass to Griffin Reinhart. A few minutes later, McDavid circled the offensive zone on the power play before finding Benoit Pouliot alone in front for another great scoring chance. He was everywhere over the ice, just like he had been in every single game of his NHL career thus far. Edmonton eventually took a 1-0 lead into the first intermission, but the second period quickly swung in Philadelphia's favor. The Flyers scored twice to take the lead, yet McDavid kept creating opportunities. On one penalty kill, he exploded down the ice on a shorthanded rush and was robbed on the backhand by Michael Neuwirth. Then just a few minutes later, it happened again. Another Flyers power play, another shorthanded rush by McDavid. He came down and attacked 2 defenders by himself, blew past Brandon Manning, and got a shot off from a sharp angle. But as he released the puck, Manning gave him a shove from behind. The two collided with RJ Umberger, sending McDavid crashing violently into the end boards. Immediately, you could tell something was wrong. McDavid slowly got to his feet, grabbed his left shoulder, and headed straight down the tunnel. The Oilers went on to win the game 4-2, but by the final horn, nobody really cared about the score. The entire hockey world was holding its breath, waiting for news on number 97. After the game, nobody really knew how serious the injury was. Head coach Todd McClellan would only say that McDavid had suffered an upper body injury that would keep him out long term. Usually in the NHL world, when you're talking about injuries, you keep it as vague can be. So in this case, upper body, long term is all people got. But the following day, the worst fears were confirmed. Connor McDavid had broken his left collarbone. The injury would require surgery to insert plates and screws, and there was no clear timetable for his return, but GM Peter Chiarelli admitted McDavid would be out for months. The timing could not have been worse. McDavid had 12 points through his first 13 NHL games, led all rookies in scoring, had just been named the NHL's Rookie of the Month for October, and looked every bit like the generational talent everyone expected him to become. But just like that, it was all on pause. McDavid's absence was felt almost immediately for the Oilers. Without their young superstar, Edmonton completely fell apart. Not to say they were a good team anyways, but after McDavid left, they were even worse. During the 37 games he missed, Edmonton won just 14 of them, and had the second worst record in the NHL over that stretch. Even worse, they scored fewer goals than any other team in the league. The excitement surrounding the team had almost disappeared overnight, and what looked like the beginning of a new era suddenly felt like another lost season, one that Oilers fans were too familiar with. But while the Oilers struggled, McDavid attacked his rehab. Less than 3 months after his surgery, he was cleared for full contact and spent the NHL All-Star break practicing with the Bakersfield Condors in the AHL. And instead of taking time off, he was determined to get himself game ready. Even then, he admitted the hardest part wasn't the rehab, it was just waiting around. But on February 2nd, 2016, against the Columbus Blue Jackets, number 97 was finally back on the ice. And considering how badly the Oilers needed him, the timing could not have been better. From his very first shift, it looked like McDavid hadn't missed a beat. He was flying around the ice, hounding pucks, creating chances, and reminding everyone exactly what Edmonton had been missing. While McDavid looked great, nobody knew if he'd be able to take over a game the way he had before the injury. But midway through the second period, it happened. McDavid picked up the puck at center ice after Benoit Pouliot left it for him, exploded through the neutral zone, and I'll just let him do the rest.
Here is McDavid. McDavid trying to split the defense. McDavid, what a play! What a goal! Oh my! Connor McDavid, welcome back! The Oilers with a 2-1 lead on a spectacular goal.
The building erupted. It wasn't just that he scored, it was how he scored. The rush looked eerily similar to the one that ended his rookie season 3 months earlier. The last time McDavid attacked two defenders by himself, he ended up crashing to the boards with a broken collarbone. This time, he beat everyone clean and finished off one of the greatest goals of his career still to this day. It was proof that the injury hadn't taken away the one thing that made Connor McDavid different: his speed, his confidence, and his ability to do things nobody else in the league could do. McDavid finished his return with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points and the first star of the game as Edmonton rolled to a 5-1 victory. But more importantly, the hockey world finally had its answer. Connor McDavid was back, and if there had been any doubt before, this was the moment everyone realized the NHL had a generational superstar on its hands, and the league would not be the same going forward. And from that moment on, McDavid picked up right where he left off. Over the final 32 games of the season, he recorded 36 points, a 92-point pace over a full 82-game schedule. Had he stayed healthy all year, that pace would have ranked second in the entire NHL, right behind Patrick Kane. Even after missing 37 games, McDavid still finished his rookie season with 48 points in just 45 games. It was enough to earn him 25 first-place votes for the Calder Trophy, finishing third behind Shane Gostisbehere and the winner Artemi Panarin. Most rookies would have been thrilled to just be in the conversation, but McDavid somehow remained one of the favorites despite playing barely half the season. If there was one silver lining to the injury, it was that it only delayed what everyone already knew was coming. 1 year later, McDavid entered the 2016 season as the Edmonton Oilers captain at just 19 years old, making him the youngest captain in NHL history. He played all 82 games, recorded 100 points, won the Hart Memorial Trophy, the Art Ross Trophy, and the Ted Lindsay Award, all while leading Edmonton back to the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time since 2006. Now, the Oilers didn't do too much damage in the playoffs, but this was just a taste of what the career of Connor McDavid would end up becoming, and the rest, as they say, is history.